Welcome to the Honest Designers Show, your transparent look into life as a modern designer. My name's Tom Ross and I'm the founder at designcuts.com, and this week I'm joined by my fellow Brit and expert hand letterer Ian Barnard, American retro design expert Dustin Lee, and the awesomely talented South African illustrator Lisa Glanz. In this week's episode, we are pumped because we're actually answering 3 listener questions from listeners Izzi, Maureen and Danielle. Each of these wonderful listeners have very different questions around design, but we are really excited to dig deep for all of you at home and provide as much value as we can muster. So let's get into the show. So this week I'm excited because we've got 3 listener questions, which is cool. We haven't done this in a little while actually. And I think before we had a whole episode for one question. So this is going to be a kind of quick fire round, but we want to try and help a few of you guys, and hopefully the answers are going to be universally applicable. Fingers crossed. We've kind of picked some of our favorites. Mm-hmm. So without further ado, actually, do you guys want to say hi before I rant and go into the questions?
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Cool. So that was Lisa Glanz, the budding Cockney, coming out. Okay, so first question is from Izzi, and this is Izzi who runs Izzi Matter Studio, and she's an art major at Westmont College, and you can find her work at instagram.com/icm.art. And Izzy's question is, most of my friends are pursuing work in STEM fields, and quite often I've had to deal with people not taking me seriously after hearing that I'm pursuing a career in the art world. How do you deal with people who don't respect your career choices and or are biased against you because they simply don't know what it means to be a graphic designer or illustrator? How do you keep from taking people's negative comments and disregard of you as a personal offense? And finally, what do you do when those comments and that disregard begin to convince you that you're wasting your time and money pursuing the dream of being an illustrator or graphic designer? Thank you so much for your podcast. It's been incredibly uplifting and really inspirational. And then she sent a little love heart emoji, which is amazing. Thanks, Izzy.
Thank you, Izzy. That's so nice.
And thanks for your art. It warms my heart and brightens my day. I think Izzy actually sent that to you, Lisa. Is that right? On Instagram? That's right.
Yeah.
So that is a incredibly lovely message from Izzy, and we're very excited to answer your question on the show. So does anyone want to kick this one off? Because I have strong feelings about this and I don't want to start ranting about her friends.
Can I say that I've been very blessed that no one's ever really said, oh, what a waste of time, or, oh, how can you make money out of that? I must have been very lucky, I suppose. I don't know whether I was surrounding myself with people who are always very positive of each other's what they do. So I have been in contact with people who've had that experience. I know what it can be like, if you get what I mean.
So Izzy, if you're listening, try and trade bodies with Ian Barnard. And it's smooth sailing. You will get 0 abuse from your friends.
I don't mean to say that as in like, oh, look at me. I just, for some reason, I've not had that. I've not experienced. Mate, so actually sometimes it depends on the people that you're with who understand. Who understand what graphic design is. Maybe I've just had people that understood what it is more. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I like to surround myself with very lowbrow characters with 0 ambitions, so they actually look up to me. That's always effective too.
I wouldn't say looking up is a.
Okay, go on, Lisa. It sounds like you're going to give a sensible.
Yeah, I feel pretty strongly about this because, okay, besides the fact that I've obviously, well, not obvious, but I have had the similar reaction, and unfortunately from my own dad, he didn't think that art was really a career choice. So as a result, I never chose art as a career, and I ended up doing graphic design, which is not the same thing. although it obviously is more creative than most jobs, but it still wasn't what I wanted to do. So it does crush you and it does make you question things. But the only advice that I can give is I just think that those people that don't understand it and possibly even make fun of you or ridicule you or don't take you seriously have been taught the same thing. They've been told that art is not a career and art is not serious. And to be quite honest, without art, this world would be hideous. It would really, really be hideous. There would be no point in a lot of things. And I just think that it's such an important career, and we have to have people who do it. And without them, there'd be nothing. I mean, from everything, the stuff that you buy, the stuff that you sleep in, the stuff that you wear. I mean, all those things are made by artists, and the patterns and that kind of thing, and the stuff on your wall. It's so important. And I just think, and I did actually reply to Izzi already, but I just think that we're the lucky ones that think that it is important. I think those that don't value it are the unlucky ones, and I still think that they need to learn. And so I guess you can possibly approach it from a compassion point of view, which I know is so hard when they are not taking you seriously. I think you can see it like they still need to learn. They still need to grow. I know that sounds arrogant, but I believe that. I think they need to see a bigger picture, and we at least are in a place where we know the importance. And please, Izzi, do not give up. Please,
No,
it's so important. You got to do it. You've got to keep
definitely.
going. Yeah,
I think there's a few aspects of her question for me. So, in terms of it kind of not being a viable career path, I think you're living proof, Lisa.
Oh, that too, yeah.
Well, like as we all are, and a lot of people we work with. But Lisa, we make fun of you because of your ridiculous stacks of money every episode, and that is obviously on the back of you being, a huge success with what you're doing. And you essentially, I know there's a lot more to it than this, but you draw bunnies. Like you draw amazing bunnies and creatures, and yes, you release incredible products and do customer service and you run a real business, but essentially you are doing what you love the most.
Yeah.
But you've been able to turn it into this huge success. So I think it's a fallacy that you can't make money from it.
Total fallacy.
I also think it's worthwhile thinking about the kind of long tail of it, because if it's something perhaps like someone wants to be an actor or actress, or they want to be a rock star, that is doable. But or the same with a footballer perhaps, or a soccer player, Dustin. You're going to be at the top of your game there, earning a lot of money, or if you miss that very top 0.111 percentile, then you're going to be broke. And I think that is not the case so much if you are a designer or an artist. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like you're either going to be like a world-class football player or rock star, or sports person or whatever, or you're gonna have nothing, and it's going to be a lot tougher to have a sustainable career. Whereas if you are a designer or an artist, there's millions of people making a living do that. So actually it's kind of fallen into becoming like a traditional career option now. And maybe that is down to the internet. I'm not sure what it is, but I think it's no longer this kind of wild card career where you're probably not going to be able to make any money out of it. Like, you can make a good buck in this racket, as they say.
I also want to mention, Izzi, the next time you get that, you can remind them, whenever they went to buy a birthday card, who do you think drew the stuff on the card? When they went to shop for a lovely dress or jacket or whatever, and it had a lovely print on it, who do you think did that? It's an important career. So I think they just need to be educated, if you ask me.
I think well, first of all, no one gets into this to get rich. There's way easier ways, in most people's opinions, I'm sure, to get rich, but you can't change how the friends you're around feel about it. It's a lot of work to try to convince a lot of people that they're wrong and you're right, or to see your way, but you can change your environment and yourself. So maybe the solution is to spend a little more time around people that are other artists and designers, or people going along that path. I spent a lot of time with some friends that did not do that kind of work. one was a carpet cleaner, and one built play structures for a living. And when I talked about dreams of being a designer, they didn't even tell me it was stupid. They just continued on with their conversation about how the day of carpet cleaning went. I mean, it just seemed like a pipe dream to them. So I had to meet friends. When I finally met friends that were designers, all of a sudden the world opened up, and I realized that there's so many people that are just like you, or just like me, or any of us, that you really need to find that group. You don't have to abandon your other friends, but you should definitely find that group. And the last thing I would say about it is people will laugh at you until they don't.
Yep.
I like that.
Mm.
And it's kind of a good sign they're laughing at you.
I also think so.
People, no one's going to like walk past and laugh at like a homeless guy, right? People generally laugh out of like a weird fear or uncomfortableness on their part. And I'm going to be kind of harsh here, but I don't think it is harsh. I think you need to audit your friends, because maybe it's how it was worded, but I just read the question back and it's pretty much saying my friends are biased and prejudiced against me and they're giving me a hard time for going after my passion. And I think that's terrible. That doesn't sound like a good friend.
I was thinking that as well when you read the question. I was like, maybe get some new friends. But that's obviously not.
Yeah,
Although,
like
people could say that about us with Lisa, the way that we rib her about money.
like the thing is, we even though we rib Lisa, we know that she really works hard. She works much harder than me, which is not hard. But
show highlight.
I can see, I can see the whole, and that's why she's on the front page of some of the sites where she sells her stuff, because the hard work shows in the popularity, of her products.
But
I just think like it really frustrates me. I mean, it offends me when parents do this, but I think at least they're doing it from normally a position of like trying to protect you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's what my dad did it.
Yeah, so generally it's like, oh no, like don't do that because I'm worried you're going to end up destitute and broke, and go the safe option. I still think that's ultimately a bad thing, but I can at least empathize with the motives. But it sounds like her friends are literally just trying to tear her down and like look down on her like, well, I'm doing something important and you're not. And I would really not let that. I can see why it would impact you in a negative way, but this is your life, these are your friends, but I would, at the very least, try and communicate this to them and say, look, I'm trying to do what I'm passionate about. Why do you seem to have a problem with this? Because that's not fair. I wouldn't do that to you.
Exactly. And you need to ask, if you're going to ask them that, you need to say, why does that make you so scared? Why are you so fearful of that? Because their reaction at the end of the day, as you said, Tom, is out of fear. I mean, it's like something... they were told that art is something you have fun and play with at home, and now you actually want to pursue it as a career. Well, that's not fair, in their eyes. It's like, I also want to play it, but now I have to do stem cell research. I don't know.
Well, and think about the people you hang out with. I mean, if we were just friends hanging out, not doing a podcast, and you guys were all scientists, maybe it would be fun, but I don't know how much I'd have to talk to you about.
Yeah.
Well, I think people can have fun in any industry, but this is a genuine statistic. I think I read it was at least 80% of people not just dislike but hate what they do, and so it's kind of probable that at least some of your friends with these kind of supposedly important jobs, they may well hate what they do. Which is very sad, and I don't wish that on anyone. I think everyone should love what they do, but when you're trying to break the mold and you're trying to go after your passion, and that takes a lot of bravery, I do think
it's scary
that
stuff
does
for people.
that scares people, and it's like, oh, okay, maybe I'm going to be the only one left doing something I'm not necessarily that happy in. And I don't know anyone who's like really secure and confident and passionate about what they do and loves what they do who's like ragging on other people. Because it just doesn't happen because you're too satisfied with your setup.
I think if you look at it, when people are negative, if you always think there's a reason behind the behaviour. So, and those reasons can be jealousy. They can be like a fear or a concern for you, or a concern that it gives them a reality check, like you said about they're doing something they don't enjoy and they're envious of you because you're doing something you are enjoying. So it's usually the person's problem, not your problem. And so, you know, it happens with lots of different things where, you know, people sometimes hurt those that they love. Do you know what I mean? So they're like, because they love you, they're going to speak in a way that's, you know, not say it to people they don't love, but to people that they're closest to, express their innermost things, but that might not come over in an appropriate or helpful way to you, you know.
And it brings up something interesting too, because if you have a friend and say you're into science stuff, which is fantastic, and you have a friend that does arts, if they are horrible, you're going to be like, keep up the great work. I mean, you don't kick someone when they're down. You only joke and rib with someone when it looks like they're going to kill it, because then it's not so cruel to joke with them. So maybe she's actually fantastic, and they feel comfortable saying this because she looks promising.
True. I like that.
I think I did that. I sort of mix up a lot of what I do on Instagram because I'm a Christian. I sometimes use biblical verses, but there's one which is, I think, really relevant, which is as iron sharpens iron, so one friend sharpens another. And I think you need friends that will have a positive outlook on what you're doing, because you need to be able to be built up, because otherwise it's going to be a real uphill struggle if they don't believe in what you do. That might come, you know, if you can explain it to them, or you can help them understand that this is a viable option. But you need, like, if you're going through a hard time with your design, you need someone to lift you up and give you some, you know, oh, but look at this, you're doing well in here, and, you know, I know it's lower monthly money here, but you're going to get it here. And I think you need, like, us help each other when we're feeling low about maybe our sales, or maybe a product hasn't done so well, or something didn't get liked on Instagram. You need some other things saying, oh, have a look at some of the other ones you've done, they've been really good, or that. And you need those friends who support what you do and uplift you, whether that's your family or your friends.
And actually, you need it more than they do, because it's not a traditional career path. It's a longer game, and it takes more patience. And certainly for me, out of college, all my friends were getting traditional careers, some of them going into banking and stuff like that. Don't judge me. And, you know, I was there, like, with this vision, being like, oh, I hope this works out. But they were all, like, sailing past me on the career ladder. But, you know, they've luckily been very supportive. But it's kind of like, well, now I feel very happy with where I'm at. And some of them are like, oh, man, that's like a nice position to be in, running your own business and stuff. It's like, yeah, but it wasn't when you guys had money and I had literally nothing. And I was just like, had this vague hope for the future. So I was playing that long game.
Right.
But hopefully that helps, Izzi. And message Lisa, message any one of us, leave a comment on the show. And if you have any follow-up questions, you know, we'd love to hopefully address them.
Yeah, we will be the encouragement if you're struggling at the moment to get it from your friends.
Yeah. And in fact, for everyone listening, if you can leave a comment on social, leave it. If you go to honestdesigners.com, you will find this episode, and leave a comment encouraging Izzi, like whether you want to connect or just give us some words of advice or a pep talk. That would be really cool. Okay, so the next question is from Maureen Denny, and Maureen runs Moxie Creek, with Moxie spelled MOXIE creek.com. And Maureen says, I love the podcast and listen to it faithfully. I saw on your Instagram account asking for show ideas, so here goes. I'm more on the technical side of things, website development, which is coding for everyone listening, and trying to learn more about design principles. I'm a wannabe designer. I read, listen, watch videos, etc., and I'm trying to learn as much as I can. Unfortunately, it takes me down a rabbit hole. My attention becomes scattered, and I feel I'm not making any progress. When you started, what did you find the most useful thing to help you to hone your unique style? So that's a great question, Maureen, and really happy to have you on the show. Thanks for sending your question in. I think there's kind of two questions. There's like the honing the style, and there's the focused learning. So does someone want to maybe kick off with the focused learning? Because I feel like that's something we've chatted for a little bit. Ian, not you, because you're the least focused bloke I know.
Yeah, hence why he's giggling already.
Lisa, I know you're quite good. You still do courses and stuff like that.
Yeah, I actually, you know what? When I read her post, I actually I mean, that's just me to the T, because when I first started, illustrating full time, I did the same thing. I would literally spend hours doing course after course, YouTube videos, this and the next thing. And you just get so flustered and caught up in the whole thing, especially when you're watching other people that you aspire to eventually become, to be as good as them. You start thinking, I'm never going to get there. And all you do is there's so much stuff in your head, when actually at the end of the day, what you really need to do is sit down and just do it. And yes, it's good to have all that knowledge. It's good to have all the background as much as you can, especially if you're that way inclined. Like, I mean, it sounds like Maureen and I are similar that way. We like the info as well. But at the end of the day, what's going to get you to your end result, or get you better, and definitely get you better to finding your style, is to literally dedicate time every day by just putting it all aside and just doing, whatever it is you want to do. So whether it's illustrating or designing or, coding or whatever, you just have to put in the hours. It's like, like with running, with cycling, with anything, it's time in the saddle. You just have to do it. There's no way around it, unfortunately.
And playing around as well. I find that I've come across things just by playing and giving myself opportunities just to play without having a goal in mind. And sometimes I've fallen upon something and thought, I really enjoy doing this, or I really enjoy doing that. But it's only when I give them my permission to myself to just waste some time and play with it. Something I posted today on Instagram was some Bezier curves, which you can get an illustrator about drawing curves. And the only way that I've got good at that was playing around in an illustrator. I think, you can look at all the courses, you can read articles on it, but unless you go in there and you make some ugly work at first and keep making ugly work until you get it, it's just that, it's play and persistence, I think.
Yeah, I kind of agree. And I guess everyone learns differently, but I learned through trial and error, and I'd be a lot more proficient, and I would have learned a lot quicker probably doing the courses. But similar to you guys, I was just playing around. And I think by following, like Ian said, by following what interests you the most, that hopefully doesn't get you down this rabbit hole of disorientation, where perhaps what's disorientating her with it is there's such variety. If you're faced with 10,000 courses, it's like, where do I start? Whereas if you follow your heart and it's like, okay, well, this really stands out to me, I wonder how I'm going to do that. And it could be something really specific. So even more specific than, say, calligraphy, it could be like a certain type of calligraphy, or you see some ad copy on a billboard and you're like, I would love to learn how to do that today. That stood out to me, and literally just kind of going with piques your interest at any given moment.
Yeah, so break it down. I mean, don't. I think if she's.
Oh, when he's going to rap, break it down.
Yeah, break it down, Lisa. Break it down for Maureen.
I like that.
Please answer in rap form. Dustin,
Ian's got the one-liners today.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, it's on fire.
The hop, the funny comes out of you.
All right, so I think the main thing, Maureen, your design's obscene. You've got. Sorry, back to El Glizzo on the mic. You were about to dig into something.
I was just quickly, Dustin. I was going to say, like, instead of taking in all this info, now that you've done it, like, break down what you want to concentrate on. As you said, Tom, like, find one topic that really interests you, and then maybe concentrate on that for that month, or or that week, or whatever. So don't try and do it all at once, because it's never going to happen. Yeah. What were you going to say, Dustin?
I was just going to say, I think a question to ask yourself too, or a reminder for yourself, is it really a rabbit hole, or are you starting out on something and you're gaining a lay of the land? So anytime we start something, there's so much stuff to learn that it can feel like, oh, I go here. I remember when I first started, I started doing Illustrator. Then I realized I need to know Photoshop and InDesign. Oh no, now there's typography, and it would keep spreading out. So give yourself time to learn the lay of the land. And the second thing I would maybe a good exercise to do is to think about, remember when you were learning about the coding or the technical side of creating websites. You'll probably find that when you were doing that, you had a similar experience in some ways, and just use that as a reminder that
good point.
Anytime you start anything, I'm sure when you started coding, it felt like there's so much to know. Oh my gosh, arrays, I don't know, code, strings, all this different stuff. And you'll probably find, oh, this is actually very similar.
What I found liberating, I think that's the right word, is that rather than working out what you love doing, is working out what you hate doing. So when I was transitioning from doing general design to calligraphy, I was like, actually, I don't really like doing websites. I don't really like doing business cards. And it was just like, and I felt like this weight off my shoulder. I felt like, because I'm a graphic designer, I had to like everything. And I can't not do everything. And it was like, actually, well, I don't like doing all this stuff. And so I think, trying something and going, actually, I don't like it, moving that aside. Trying something else, well, I do a bit. I'll keep that over here, and just going through and just working out and not being afraid to say, actually, I don't like that bit of design. When I was doing website stuff, I liked CSS, but then I tried to learn a language called PHP. I really didn't like it, and it wasn't until I said, no, I don't like that, and moving it aside, that I could sort of, and some people can learn it all and love it all, but a lot of the time, you just have to pick and choose the things that you do love and the things that you don't love. And be open to know that you don't have to love it all.
Yep, that is liberating. I like it. So in true form, being the honest designers, I am going to be transparent with the dear listeners and say, unfortunately, Dustin has quite a vital appointment to go to today, and so this is going to be a bit of a shorter
dying,
episode,
by the way.
No, that did sound quite ominous. Yeah,
no, it's a nice appointment.
Yes. More on that soon, of course. But yeah, I'm going to move on to the third and final question, and I'm sure we can hopefully circle back to some of these issues and elaborate in a future episode. So the third question is from Danielle Allen, and her Instagram is instagram.com/Danielle ARENAE. I said that really badly. I'm trying to Arani. I think I've said that.
You could always link it in the description.
We'll link it in the show description, folks. So Danielle's question is, I would love to hear an episode about making friends with other designers who are essentially your direct competition. I would love to be able to have a fellow designer who lives close to me to attend events with and rant about design problems with. How can you find that person and support each other's businesses without feeling like you're directing potential clients away from yourself? I'm just starting out freelancing from an agency job, so I feel particularly cautious of deflecting business. Maybe it's just me that has this problem, but either way, I would love to hear some advice. This is interesting.
It's a great question.
That is a great question. On like my gut, I just want to say the real answer is don't worry about it too much. There's enough for everyone to go around. It can be really positive. You can collaborate with these people, and that can be a great thing. I feel like that's kind of the answer, but I think we should dig into her natural reaction, because I don't think that's a stupid reaction at all. I think that's very, very natural.
Especially if you're starting out. For me, I actually told her that at the time when I first started out, I had a friend who had a very successful design business, and she was really, really good at annual reports. And if I was too busy, I would send my clients her way for jobs like that. And I knew that I'd be putting them in good hands. So it will still reflect well on me. And at the same time, if she had any work that was a little bit more sort of illustrative style, that kind of stuff, she'd send it my way. So it definitely can be beneficial. And yes, it is a scary thing when you're starting out. It feels like you're sending work away when you shouldn't be. But you can actually end up growing this amazing relationship, and collaboration can end up being like really beneficial for everyone.
Yeah, no two designers are identical, right?
No.
So even if you are literally doing the same thing, if you're both illustrators, for example, you will have nuances, different styles. You'll prefer working with slightly different clients. So if it was identical, that might be more of an issue, but I think you can kind of find this like complementary fit for both of you. And also I think the positives are so great. So what she talked about in terms of going to conferences and having fun, and I think that will actually make you so inspired and motivated and just happier. I think that will counteract any potential loss of business, which is probably just in your head anyway. But I mean, look at like us doing this show, and just getting out of that bubble. Like we talk about this all the time on this show, when you feel isolated and alone and like no one's there to empathize with you, it's not healthy.
Mm-hmm. I can tell you for myself, because I feel like this has been such a struggle for me, and something that I, for the first couple of years of my business, let dominate a good amount of my business life. Well, a perfect example is Ian. So when Ian and I both got on Creative Market, we were doing some things that were really similar, and I thought of Ian as a competitor. He was a person.
Some of his messages to me, oh God, weren't repeating.
I sent him one message about the name of his.
I remember. I was going to
shop,
bring that up.
Oh, is that what you were thinking too?
Yeah.
I remember this well because we actually worked with both you guys. Dustin, you were Retro Supply Co. Ian, you were Vintage Design Co. And without fail, for like the first 6 months of working with you guys, I would mix the two up and never remember who was who.
Oh,
Right. Yeah. So there was a competition in my head between us, and this wasn't just Ian. This was something deeply ingrained in me that I was doing with all sorts of people, and all of a sudden. I don't know how it happened very slowly, but I started to realize, like exactly what Tom said, there's plenty to go around. And if you stop, unless someone is blatantly stealing from you, which is just disrespectful, most people are actually great partners. So Ian and I like now talk all the time and talk about potentially doing something together, because we realize there's overlap in the audience, and it can benefit both of us. And I found oftentimes working with people that are doing similar things to you yields better results than almost anything you can do. It's the ideal partnership. So don't waste your time on it. It will make you miserable and eat you up inside. And
it will.
It's totally not worth it.
But what it did do though is spark off. Like whenever he released a product, I was like, "Oh no, I'm gonna get one out." And so that was like part of the momentum of why we got out products every couple of weeks, because we were like, well, Dustin's doing so well, I'm going to have to quickly get something out.
It was an arms race.
It was an arms race. But,
But it helped both of you. You both did incredibly well.
yeah.
we did. And it wasn't until, I think, we found our feet and Dustin actually, bedded himself in that. And actually, my interest divided off to more lettering stuff. And I suppose it was then that we realised, actually, we do different things. And, it wasn't actually, my stuff was started to take a whole new different look and feel and direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, it was, like he says, there was enough to go around.
The interesting thing about it all too is when you actually start, like, if you just can get yourself to go talk to that person and try to strike up a friendship with them or even have a conversation, very, very rarely is someone actually a villain who wants to destroy your life. I mean, most of the time it's just another person doing their thing, doing the things they're interested in. You'll find you like them and they don't want to do you harm, and you don't want to do them harm, and you end up becoming friends, and it just alleviates the stress. Because it drove us both to make products, but I was pretty miserable when I was paying attention to what everyone else was doing and trying to get ahead of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't do that again.
Yeah, it's terrible. I was going to say, I think it's important for Danielle to look at the other alternative. So I don't know if she has someone in mind to go and befriend who she's chatting with and do conferences and so on. But what is the alternative? Like sitting there being like, oh, I really want to go talk to that other person, but I'm going to sit in my room and stew in like jealousy and paranoia about everything they're doing. Like those are kind of your only options. It's like you're either going to go put yourself out there and have a blast, or you're going to sit alone and isolated worrying what everyone else is doing.
So
It's
true.
kind of it's a pretty clear choice.
Yeah.
For me.
Look, my experience is that locally, a lot of the designers won't. Like I do meetups and stuff like that. A lot of the local designers won't come. They feel like you're competition and they won't want to collab with you. So the people you find at conferences are people who are open to working with you or open to being alongside, because they, because those people, if you make an effort to go to a conference, it's a financial cost and it's a time out your business. It's that awkwardness if you're an introvert of trying to be with people, and that thing you don't. Me going over to America and going to a Creative South conference, I didn't feel as a burden of all these people here are going to steal my work. I felt it was an opportunity to gain work, to gain friends, to gain relationships, to get people who have different skill sets, or to learn from other people. I think that you can. I wouldn't worry about going to conferences because they're all going to be people who are positive and want to do stuff. It's those people who are locally, and they're going to stay local if they don't see that they can collaborate with anyone. And if those people are thinking, "Oh, you're competition," then they're not going to really grow that much, because you can only grow, I feel, by working with other people and bringing other people on, or finding people who have a bigger skill set than you, or different skill set with you.
Yeah, true.
Definitely. I'll give you an example. So I was actually interviewed on the Obsessed with Design podcast last night by Josh, who's a great guy. And lo and behold, he was interviewing me about our design podcast, and he wasn't worried about all his listeners running away because we're a competing podcast. Like, he just did it because he wanted to chat about it, and it was interesting. And guess what? I just mentioned his show on ours. Like, I'm not hoarding, but like, I mustn't mention any other design podcast because what if it's competition? Like, I think you have to trust a little bit in your skills and your integrity and what you're building. And I truly, it's a little bit woo woo, but I think if you're putting good stuff out there and you have the right intentions and you're connecting with people and you're taking action, I think that is, more than enough to get you on the right path.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And as you said, there's enough to go around, so you shouldn't worry.
The pie is big enough.
Absolutely.
And it's cheesy, but there's no one else like you. You're not special.
I got an urge to go into like Pulp Fiction there. Like, if the pie isn't big enough, then strike down your enemies with great vengeance and furious anger.
Yeah,
that would be our advice, Danielle.
Jackson.
Yes.
Cool. So, Dustin, I know you have to run. Sorry, everyone listening. It's a wee bit of a short one, but
Sorry, guys.
They're probably like, phew, cool. It's a shorter one.
Yeah. Oh, thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
Normally it's dragging on. But no, that was fun. Like, let us know in the comments and the feedback and the reviews. But I want to do more of these because that felt good. It felt good kind of jumping between a few things and knowing we're helping specific people with specific questions, hopefully.
Definitely.
So yeah, let us know. But as always, thanks for tuning in.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. We hope that Izzi, Maureen and Danielle's questions helped you to think about these different areas of design and perhaps realize that you're not alone in what you're currently going through. As always, you can find full show notes over at honestdesigners.com or find us over on iTunes by searching for The Honest Designers Show. If today's episode helped you, then it would mean the world to us if you took just a moment to leave us a quick review over on iTunes, as this is literally the best way for other creative folk to discover the show. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next week right here on The Honest Designers Show.